In the latest release, one of Figureland's relatives and Imu's real name have been finally revealed. Chapter 1086 has unveiled various pieces of information, but I noticed a slight difference in nuances between the original and translated versions. For instance, Garling is the former king of God Valley. If you read the original version, you might infer that he may not exactly be the ex-king of God Valley. This detail could reveal a secret about God Valley. As for Imu, you might already know this, but let's focus on Imu's last name. It includes wordplays typical of the Japanese language. Moreover, in Chapter 1085, Imu refers to himself as Mu. I often hear a theory suggesting that this Mu refers to the Japanese mu for nothing or void in a philosophical sense. But, as a native Japanese speaker, I find this forced. However, in Japanese, this mu is used for another type of word. So in this video, I would like to analyze Chapter 1086 from the original language's perspective. Of course, not only native speaker interpretations are correct, so I'd be delighted if you could also share your thoughts. Anyway, welcome to another episode of Dawn Dusk. Through this channel, I'd like to share theories and analyses about One Piece, including plot developments and the author's thought process presented in the original language. The owner of this channel also teaches Japanese to foreigners. In the future, we plan to provide online video lessons of Japanese language. For this reason, I've created a Telegram group for those interested in the Japanese language, so if you're interested,
join us. Oh, I'm Venus.
In any case, I hope to be able to grow this channel together with you as true Nakama. In Chapter 1086, it was revealed that Imu was the king of the Nerona family. Ivankov links Imu's name to one of the 20 founders of the world government, Im of the Nerona family. Additionally, Ivankov says Nerona Sei. This kanji, Sei, is used to denote the men of the celestial dragons, while for the women of the celestial dragons, the kanji Gu is used. So it's almost certain that Nerona Imu is a male. Perhaps this last name, Nerona, could be a play on words. Do you know this kanji? It represents God. Breaking down this kanji, we can find the katakana for ne, ro, and na. So his surname is simply a word derived from God. Anyway, in Chapter 1085, Imu refers to himself as Mu. I often hear theories suggesting this Mu refers to mu in Japanese, which means nothing or void in a philosophical sense. However, I personally don't believe that mu means nothing or void in the sense of a native Japanese speaker. Why? If that were the case, it should be written as them. There wouldn't be a need for elongated vowel marks, which are a method used to indicate that the sound before a character is extended when writing foreign words in katakana. So, what does mu mean? In the context of native speakers, the sound of mu sounds cute, even a bit silly. This is also the case for other celestial dragons. They refer to themselves as Wachiki or Wachishi, and so forth. These also sound a bit cute and silly to a native Japanese speaker. By the way, the celestial dragons also add the word dai or e at the end of their sentences. This makes their way of speaking somewhat silly. But the 5 elders don't speak in this way. Additionally, Doflamingo and Mioscard originally spoke in the same way as the other celestial dragons, but after Doflamingo was nearly killed by civilians and Mioscard met Otohime, their way of speaking changed. This could explain it. The 5 elders are engaged in maintaining the world's balance and are aware that they are constantly in danger. They don't see themselves as gods and seem to even fear that their fanciful positions might be threatened. Doflamingo descended to the surface and became a pirate, while Mioscard decided to live as a human, without slaves. This peculiar and almost silly way of speaking could be common among celestial dragons who consider themselves deities. This could mean that Im, like the other celestial dragons, might have just used mu to express an unusual way of speaking. There's also another possibility. This word mu is used to denote the continent of Mu in Japanese. Mu is a hypothetical continent that disappeared in the Pacific Ocean, described by the Anglo-American James Churchward, based on a translation that later turned out to be completely wrong. According to current scientific knowledge, the existence of such a continent is not compatible with the Pacific's geological history. Maybe in the world of One Piece, there exists a phantom continent similar to the continent of Mu, which could be the territory of Mariajois. In this video, I developed the theory that the current world government created a continent in a part of the current Mariajois and linked it with the other continents. This could suggest that the world government truly created a continent that doesn't appear on the map, similar to the continent of Mu. Additionally, I wanted to show you this picture. For the first time, we were able to see the empty throne from above. Maybe some of you noticed something. Now let's look at the next page. I think everyone gets it now. This layout likely represents the map of the One Piece world. This part represents the Grand Line and this part the sea. If this entire area represents the red line, then the empty throne where Im sits represents Mariajois. In Japanese, the empty throne is said as Karano Gyokuza. When this kanji is used, it means not just physical emptiness, but also appearance without substance, lies, falseness, emptiness, etc. So this could mean that Mariajois itself is empty. But why did the current world government create Mariajois? I plan to discuss this in detail in another video, so if you're interested, hit the like button and let me know. In Chapter 1085, the true name of Imu-sama Shot was revealed. As I speculated, it was confirmed that Lulusha was eliminated as an example to other revolutionary countries. In the dialogue between Imu and the 5 elders, Imu said, "I want to use the mother flame that is rumored to have been created by Vegapunk." In other words, from his statement, it emerges that the creation of the mother flame by Vegapunk is just a rumor, and it has not been confirmed. Imu has only heard from someone that Vegapunk created it. Moreover, Ivankov hypothesized that the flying object that destroyed Lulusha could have only been created by Vegapunk, or it could be an ancient weapon. Dragon denies that Vegapunk would create weapons to kill people. From these descriptions, I can perceive the author's intentions. We might conclude that it was Vegapunk who made it, but the subject is deliberately ambiguous. Even if Vegapunk created this mother flame, there must be circumstances. Most likely, this weapon was created for another purpose, or someone else stole Vegapunk's research just like York betrayed. First of all, this shadow is clearly invisible to York and the other Seraphim. So, I am looking forward to returning to Egghead's scene after the break. I have just one more doubt. The 5 elders say, if we can use this power freely, we can put an end to a long battle. This means that until now, they have not been able to use this power at will. So, the biggest question is about God Valley. According to Sengoku, God Valley disappeared from the map without a trace. How is it possible to make an island disappear from the map? I thought that God Valley was erased with the power of the Mother Flame. Lulusia was indeed erased without leaving a trace. So one possibility is that the world government once used a similar power to erase God Valley, but the weapon itself got out of the control of the world government, just like the devil fruit Hito Hito model Nika. Or maybe someone else used this power. Another possibility is that they used Pluton to erase God Valley. Pluton was hidden underground in the volcano in the country of Wano when Wano was closed. However, since the Polton project exists, it is possible to create an identical one, and it is possible that there was another Pluton 38 years ago. How do you think God Valley was erased? Let me know your opinions by commenting below. But in any case, it's true that the world government possesses powerful weapons, and since the kingdom of Lulusha actually disappeared, another country might be the next victim. Furthermore, Ivankov also speculated that Nerona Imu is the same person who underwent the eternal youth treatment. So, the devil fruit Ope Ope could be a key to fight against Imu. Law is currently on the run after being defeated by Blackbeard, but he might end up fighting the world government alongside the Straw Hat Pirates. In Chapter 1059, Hancock says, "The effect of the ability conferred by the previous user of the ability cannot be nullified even by the subsequent user of the ability." In other words, if I am's immortal status can be nullified using Law's Ope power. But Law is one of the Ds and wants to know about his destiny and history, so there's no doubt he will be involved in the final battle. At the end of Chapter 1086, we see Myosgard being punished and sentenced to death for defending the fishmen. We're still shocked by the death of Navy Vice Admiral T-Bone, but now even a celestial dragon, Myosgard, has been executed. This suggests that also more pirates may die throughout the story. However, the judge who issued the sentence is the current Supreme Commander of the Knights of God, Figurland Garling. The last name Figurland was mentioned when the five elders misunderstood Shanks as if he had a real daughter in the film Red. In other words, even if it's not confirmed yet, it's almost certain that his last name is Figurland. If Shanks is indeed from the Figurland family, it makes sense that Figurland Garling was at God Valley, because according to Volume 4 Billion, Shanks was found in the treasure chest by Roger's pirates after the God Valley incident. But there's a point we need to pay attention to. Some translations claim that Garling is the former king of God Valley, but in the original version it's described like this. If he was really the king of God Valley, it should have been described as... Let me explain the difference between Oja and O. O simply indicates the head of a country, so it should be translated as king, but Oja represents the leader of something, regardless of the country. It might be correct to translate it as champion. In other words, there's a possibility that some sort of event or competition took place in God Valley, just like in Hachinosu. And the champion could have been Garling. If Figurland Garling was at God Valley, it's very likely that he was involved in the God Valley incident. So it's highly probable that he fought against Rox D. Zebek and Whitebeard. I remember a phrase that Whitebeard said to Shanks, "When I see your face, the wound that I received from that jerk." I thought he was talking about Roger, but maybe he was really talking about the damage he received from Garling.